Hi, I'm Bob Williamson. I'm at Honey Lake Church. I'm with my new friend, Christy Overton Johnson, world champion water skier. I want to welcome you to Honey Lake. She just gave a stirring message to our congregation, and I wanted to thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Christy, you started skiing at the age of 4, and then you went on to become a world champion. One of the things that you said was when that run came to an end, as they all do, it was very difficult for you. And you became a Christian, I assume, at a young age?
Yes, sir. I was raised in a Christian home, but at the age of 8, I walked the aisle of a Baptist church and accepted Christ and was baptized recently pretty soon after that. But it was not until my mid-20s where I really understood what having a relationship with Jesus Christ was about.
Now, was this when you were a world champion, or was this after you retired?
Well, no, it was during the time of being a world record holder, and went through, as I shared with you earlier, a lot of surgeries, and which took skiing away from me for a while, and kept climbing back up to the top of the world, and then would have another surgery, then climb back up, and there were 16 surgeries within a little over about 10 years. And during all that, I realized that the things of the world and the things that I sought after so hard, unless Christ was in them, they were pretty meaningless and could be gone, with one surgery. They were gone, and I couldn't do it any longer. And so it was during that time that I really sought the Lord. I feel like that was a crossroads, because either I could have gotten really bitter, I could have gone a different direction, been angry at the Lord, or I could have, did what I did. And when you're kind of at the bottom of emotionally, you start looking up, and that's what I did, and I allowed the Lord to put me on a firm foundation. The Bible says in Matthew that those who build their life on Jesus Christ have a firm foundation, and when the storms of life come, when the rain comes down and the floods coming up, that your house remains standing. And it doesn't say if those things will come, it says when. Mm-hmm. And so with the first couple of surgeries, that's when I started really surrendering to the Lord. But the amazing thing is, the surgeries didn't go away. There was another 14 surgeries after I gave my life completely to the Lord. And a lot of people think you become a Christian and bad things don't happen anymore. Maybe some people don't think that, but I have heard that. I hear people say, oh, he's a good God, and if he was good, he wouldn't let those bad things happen. And people actually turn away from the Lord. Well, and the reality is we live in this fallen world, and we have mortal bodies, and I'm hurling myself across the water at 70 miles an hour. Injury is going to come. God, I'm sure, supernaturally protected me a lot, but the thing that happened is when those trials came, when my life was finally built on Christ, that's when my life became meaningful, and it became solid. I didn't go tossed about, like it says in James, tossed about by every wave. I just became firm in my convictions, firm in my belief, and firm in my relationship with the Lord. And then no matter what came, those trials, they didn't shake me, because that hope I had in Jesus Christ was an anchor to my soul.
Yeah, I've talked to a lot of people. In fact, I had it happen in my own life. You put your faith into the things that you're accomplishing, whether it's attainment of money or great business success or a world champion water skier. What did it for me was going to Israel. We were talking about that just a moment ago. But I had read Solomon all about him. I wanted to see all the great things he built. I got over there, it was all crumbled, and it was just overgrown with vines. And I thought that one day this is where it all goes. We have that moment where Naaman is at the top of the page, but then what? And that's what I was really asking you. Did you come to the moment where you realize that your life is not about water skiing? It's really, God created you for His purpose.
Right.
He did, I think, want you to become what you've become, a world champion. But I think that He wanted you to use it for His glory and not necessarily your own. And when you come to that, what a great moment. I assume that that meant a lot more to you than anything you ever accomplished on the water.
Right, you're exactly right. Because I had all those titles, and like we just said, they could be gone in an instant. And your legacy, I mean, as soon as I couldn't ski, someone else just took my page in the magazine, someone else took home my paycheck. And I realized the things I'm doing are so temporal. And that's when I turned to the Lord. I'm like, I want my life to really matter and count for something. And I was so afraid He would take that skiing from me, but what He did was He says, now I have created you to water ski. He had gifted me to do that. And what's amazing is I had a hip deformity. I couldn't do any sport but water ski. I couldn't run. I can't even sit on a horse the way my pelvis is designed. I mean, it's just a mess. And so it's so cool that what I was able to accomplish in water skiing, I did it for my glory for many years. And when I started realizing God didn't want to take it all away from me, I mean, yes, there's sacrifice, but it's about shifting your focus and saying, okay, I'm going to start using these things that I'm gifted at doing for your glory, God. Whether that's me traveling around coaching water skiing, whether that's me just going to a tournament site, holding a church service, or just encouraging a young girl or boy that's coming off the water that's failed in their attempt to reach their goal, and to let them know that, hey, you just keep going, you keep trying, and also encouraging them that they're more than those buoys. So.
Well, I think that's what Christian maturity is about. You know, you finally reach a stage where you realize it's not about you so much as it is Christ. And I found an arrowhead here at Honey Lake, and it was just beautiful. Half of it was white, half of it was kind of a light pink, and it had a gorgeous maroon streak that went all the way through it. And I thought, I bet some old chief really prized that thing. Then I thought, well, look who's got it now. I mean, all of the trophies, all of I've built buildings and all kinds of things. It'll all be gone and it'll belong to somebody else. So we really need to think about building our empire in heaven.
Amen.
And that's what Christ was talking about, I think, where rust doesn't work and moths can't destroy. Yeah. And it'll live for eternity instead of just for a short period of time. So, well, I appreciate you coming. The last question I guess I had is, you had mentioned that you were a perfectionist and a people pleaser. I've seen a lot of people that fell into that with disastrous results. And the way that you overcame that was allowing God to take over your life. Exactly, could you just expound on that a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, growing up, I was taught not to focus on my competitors, but to focus on being the best that I could be. And that was great advice from my father. He always said, go out there and beat Christy. But I took it to an extreme. To me, Christy was never good enough, and I always had to beat her. I always had to outperform what I had done before, to make a little better grades. Whatever it was never enough, and I've never felt enough. And finally, when I came to a place where literally I was curled up in a closet in a fetal position, and my husband telling me to get some help. Either get on something or do something because you're about crazy. And I was in the middle of ministry. In the middle of ministry, working so hard, trying to be I was working for God, and I'm like, this has got to be perfect. I'm working for the King of Kings. And I tried so hard, and I almost put myself in a nut house. And then got to a place where I had to realize God isn't looking for my perfection. If I was perfect, Jesus would have never needed to come. God is just looking for a heart of a champion, a heart like on the water. I wasn't perfect every day, but I was committed to say, hit it, to that boat every single morning, no matter how bad my head hurt, no matter how bad I'd screwed up the day before. It was about perseverance. And that's what the Lord has really shown me, that it's not about perfection. I mean, David was a man after God's own heart. David was a murderer. In the midst of his reign, in the midst of being in a relationship with the Lord, he got off track and he made a mistake. But David was always quick to repent. David was quick to admit he was wrong, and he always knew where to go, back to the Lord. And I just feel like throwing that notion of perfection out the window, because I don't know if I was trying to impress God, but really what could I ever do to impress the creator of this magnificent world? He says, what pleases me is your faith in me. And I'm like, you know what? I can do that. I can give my life to you, and I can trust in you and believe in you. And it takes the pressure off of having to do and to be perfect. And at the end of the day, I do believe God's a God of excellence. I don't believe God put out junk. And so I do think there is a side that we need to do things with excellence. It says, in everything that you do, do it for the Lord. But not put so much pressure on ourselves that it has to be just like I thought it should be, because we got to have some margin there for the Lord to come in there and to take us where He would like us to go and how He would like it to be. But to bring that margin in, and then just to say, you know, God, at the end of the day, if I can put my head on the pillow and know that I gave it everything that I could, I did the best that I could. I treated people with love and kindness. And those where I fell in those relationships, I went back and said, I'm sorry. I've apologized to my husbands. I've apologized to my kids. And you know what, Lord, give me the grace to do better tomorrow.
Yeah, well, that's very well said, and that's something for us all to live by. Well, Christy, we appreciate very, very much your coming. It was an inspiration to all of us, and you just heard from a world champion coming from her heart. She puts God first, family second, other things down below that. And that's as it should be. And that's one reason that I think that God has blessed her so enormously with a wonderful family and all kinds of achievements and a great career. But most of all, a great ministry that I'm sure will go on for many years to come. And many people will see the kingdom of heaven, and they'll live there eternally, in part because of what she has done. So we thank you. I applaud you. And we thank you for tuning in, and Godspeed.